And this is a problem for especially Americans. We have a very short memory. But if they could think back to, what happened with COVID, and if they're paying attention to, the world stage and politics and basically everything that's going on in supply chain, you would see and realize quickly, if you're actually going to open your eyes and not let the political nonsense cloud you, is that the United States has put themselves in a very dangerous position, because the vast majority of raw materials that we need to build most things come from countries that may or may not like us so much. And the United States has all of the materials, all of the resources that we need. The challenge is the powers that basically shut down all the mills making metal products, aluminum products, and have basically handicapped the United States, especially from a national security level. It's unbelievable the kind of position that we're in. We have the best mines in the world. We have the best manufacturing capabilities in the world here. I mean, we're sitting at such a deficit of the required individuals, and we just call it the talent, of course, but just the pure lack of volume when it comes to, we call spindles, machines, and then people that can actually run them effectively in the United States. We're at staggeringly low numbers. The industry right now is very difficult to grow because we don't have the talent pool to draw from, because nobody's looking at our industry. That's one of the big reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing, and all these tools and books and everything we've been writing and creating for the last number of years is to get the word out of what's happening. If you want to be a part of something that is required, not necessarily manufacturing, rubber dog poop as an example, or some other goofy products, fine, leave them in China or overseas or wherever. They're not necessarily needed items. But when it comes to transportation, national security, military, medical, health, pretty much every other industry, if anybody was paying attention to the supply chain issues that happened during COVID, then you would understand the massive, massive deficit that the United States sits in when it comes to having the required talent pool and manufacturing capabilities to take care of ourselves if there is another major conflict. There's a lot of people that say, we'll never have another major conflict, but I certainly don't want to be unprepared for having the potential of a major conflict. And again, not to scaremonger or anything, it's just facts. When it comes down to having all the face covers and medical gear just to handle that pandemic that we went through, and a lot of people suffered, a lot of people died, but it was contained fairly quickly, relatively speaking. But man, the supply of product ran out at a breakneck pace. And again, it just goes to show how vulnerable we are all at any given time. I mean, people understand any of the supply chain when it comes to grocery. The grocery stores, they basically have a 2 to 3 day cycle. The trucks show up on a consistent cycle every 3 days. So when that food runs out, man, if that truck isn't coming to deliver that next round, and you're in a lockdown region that you can't get product or food, the world can be an ugly place quickly. So I would highly recommend that people start paying attention to how things are actually built. How do they actually show up? The world we live in today is, we get on our app and we go to Amazon and we buy the thing and it gets delivered the next day or sooner. And that world's only been around for a few years. It's pretty crazy how fast it's changed. But the reality is, if there's I would say one major thing that the US, the big powers that be out there, needs to do to protect this nation and continue its sovereign capacity, is that we need to be able to protect ourselves. We need to be able to build everything that we need to support our society and our communities. And right now, we are at a massive, massive deficit to support that need. Well, I think it's an unbelievable place to participate in. And again, I think the greatest wealth is going to be created over this next 5 to 10 years, 15 years, primarily in anything mechanical, robotic. People are always worried about this idea of the robots are going to take our jobs. Well, here's the thing. When it comes to manufacturing, the robots are going to allow us to actually reshore all this work, the work that we don't have right now on our soil. So that way, the robots would actually allow the product manufacturing ability to actually come back to the States at a much higher rate. And if you're abundance-minded thinker, you can see that, okay, if there's robots, then somebody needs to build them, somebody needs to program them, somebody needs to operate and maintain them, right? There's a whole nother, every time there's an industry that's created, there's a whole nother sets of industries that are created around those things just to maintain and manage them. So this idea that robots are just going to take over the world is that, I mean, robots have been taking over the world our entire lives. So nothing new. It's just coming at a quick pace. And so why not learn how to be a part of that big transition and take advantage of it, as opposed to sitting on the sidelines and being a spectator?